So now the meeting is being recorded. So really this meeting is an opportunity to bring all of the SELEP Limited members and our partners and our businesses together, and to really kind of consider the performance of the partnership over the year, and to look at some of the important issues to hand as we look to the future, and there are several. So as we reflect on 22-23, it was a real time of challenge for all of our partners. What we were all facing was rising costs, limiting profitability and margins for our business community, and that also impacted on deliverability for key projects across our areas. There was the energy crisis and other economic fluctuations which continue to challenge us. But actually in the Southeast, our economy performed better than some expected. For the LEP as an organisation, we've had to deal with this volatile context in our work. And in February 2023, the government announced that its decision that they were no longer minded to fund LEPs in the future years, and that instead local authorities in our areas would become responsible for strategic economic planning to ensure a strong business voice and deliver local growth schemes. This represents a paradigm shift around the local growth area and means that by March 2024, we will need to fully integrate our activity into the work of the upper tier local authorities across our areas. And during 2022-23, we were really starting to consider how these future arrangements might look. This was my first year to take up the role as chair in 22-23, and it's been quite a ship to steer. But I've been really grateful and really welcomed the support, the expertise, the knowledge and the guidance from Simon as deputy chair. Right, you sit still. So we can hear some background noise. If you could put yourself on mute, that would be really grateful. I'd be really grateful. Thank you. So I'm really grateful to Simon as deputy chair, our federated board chairs, and our other board members here who've been with us during this time. And I also wanted to pay tribute to Chris Brodie, who was the previous chair, from whom I learnt a great deal, and who had steered the SELEP ship so well over the last many years. So despite these really fluctuating conditions, the fundamentals still apply. We still need to support our businesses and ensure good quality advice and guidance. We need to ensure sector growth, development, housing and planning in a collaborative way. And we need to ensure that we have the skills to support the future industry. We've continued as a partnership to deliver on what we set out, and you'll see from the annual report that there was a lot of delivery happening. We've seen growth in some really important sectors such as supply chain, logistics, life sciences, net zero, digital creative industries, advanced manufacturing, food tech, modular construction and agri-tech. Undoubtedly, the impact of energy costs, the impact of inflation, access to supply and skills represent some of the biggest challenges we face as a region. But with this change, there always comes opportunity. And we have some internationally significant planned major projects in the future. We have some significant projects in our own capital programme that have started or will be opening in the near future. And our natural position as a gateway to the UK means our airports and our ports have now, and those that are now evolving into free ports, continue to influence our local and national economic recovery. We have a continued responsibility to support all our businesses and our public sector leaders to invest in our local areas and to ensure that we can do so in a really sustainable and conscious way. By leveraging the expertise and the knowledge that we've developed over the years and the unique partnership that we as a LEP have built, we want to foster a culture of collaboration, and we know that there is much to be positive about for the future of the economy. Sorry, I'm just going to grab a drink. We've recently welcomed Helen Russell as our new chief exec, and that's a great appointment due to her past experience and her significant knowledge, and it brings consistency to the LEP senior management team. The LEP has always been an agile organisation and was well guided and managed by our previous Chief Exec, Adam Bryan, to whom I must extend my very deep thanks for his commitment and his work on the partnership over the past 6 years in that role. So our AGM today provides an opportunity to reflect, and I'm always heartened by the drive, the enthusiasm and the collaboration across our area, whether that's in skills, in infrastructure, town centre regeneration, business support. We've worked to drive through our delivery plans and the many engagements with local partners and key stakeholders. I have to say, I'm always really impressed by the quality and impact of our work, and that by working together to find collaborative solutions and to strengthen delivery, we are changing the future economy for the better. So the LEP annual report has now been published, and you should have received a link to the report, which is on our website. And this has also been shared in the Q&A section for anyone who hasn't received it. The annual report covers our activities in 22-23, some of which we'll cover off in more detail here. So the report includes financial information for the last year. The report also includes some good examples of the work we've completed. And to build upon this, I'm going to hand over now to Helen Russell, who's the SELEP Chief Executive, who will take us through a bit of a presentation of the achievements and some of the highlights from the past year. So welcome, Helen, over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. And thank you, Zoe, is just sharing the screen for us. Could you put it on slideshow, Zoe, please? Thank you. So good afternoon, yes, everybody. So yes, I'm just going to take you through, I suppose, some highlights of the progress and achievements in the year 22-23. So to start with, whilst there were many challenges faced by the LEP itself, partners, but obviously the overall economy, our partnership has made a huge impact over the last year, and we featured some highlights of this hopefully in the presentation that's going to pop up again in a minute, but as Sarah said, there are also a number of other examples of this that is presented in the annual report. So I'm just going to carry on, but hopefully the slides will appear. So one of the most significant of those in this year was the award of 1.275 million Create Growth funding. And this was to provide bespoke business support services to the creative and digital sector across the region. It's the first of its kind and one of only 6 awards that were made nationwide, and they are targeted at creative businesses with the potential to grow. This is a free programme, and it provides the South East creative businesses with the support, networks and investment that they need to turn their sort of innovative ideas into leading creative businesses of the future. And this also enables them to access a finance pot of around £7 million, which is managed through the Innovate UK organisation. So a really positive programme that launched last year. Next, we've seen, Sarah mentioned the free ports. We've seen confirmation in this year of 2 free ports across our region. I think I believe we're the only LEP to have 2 free ports. The final business cases for both of those at Thames and Freeport East were given the go-ahead and approval by government, which means they could start operating and constitute a board to oversee their operation. These 2 projects really cement, I don't know if you recall the strategy, our economic renewal and recovery strategy that we have across the LEP, but this is a really shining example of how these 2 projects cement the role of the South East as a gateway to the UK and worldwide economy. So Thames Freeport, as you possibly know, is a partnership between Forth Ports and DP World. It will oversee sort of 4.6 billion in new public and private investment and the creation of over 21,000 new jobs and many more through the supply chain that will create. There'll be significant investments through this in training and skills, which will very much contribute to the levelling up agenda of the communities in which these free ports reside and the businesses obviously around, particularly for Thames, obviously East London and the South Essex area. Freeport East, centred around the ports of Felixstowe and Harwich, the latter a bit obviously being within the SELEP area, positions itself as a world-leading centre for clean energy production and sets out a unique set of opportunities and support which will benefit traders, manufacturers and clean energy suppliers. It's proposed that this will create 13,500 new jobs and generate 5.5 billion of additional GVA over the coming 10 years. So SELEP and its partners have been very involved in various stages of the development of these three ports, and we're really delighted to see that both are now underway. So moving on to our major projects work, you'll probably be aware that in 2021, the year before, we established our major projects group, and we undertook some research work and produced a report that looked at the collective skills needs of our major projects, of which it has fluctuated slightly, but there's been between sort of 10 and 13 of those projects, all sort of £1 billion plus infrastructure projects across the region. But we really needed to understand the skills and employment needs of those, both to deliver the projects themselves and for those that had ongoing operation. It was the biggest concern that the projects had. And we culminated some of our understanding in a webinar, which provided the opportunity to hear from some of those key projects so that all our partners could on their progress in creating those skills and employment opportunities and how people could engage with that. And we heard some really great insights from a load of key speakers. And if you haven't seen it, our webinar is available on the SELEP website, so I would encourage you to do so. In addition to this, the Major Projects Group has also been looking at opportunities to collaborate on supply chains and various technologies that they may work with to support that, as well as supporting the education sector in its challenges with recruiting technical tutors, which is obviously has a knock-on effect to the ability to deliver skills and labour market that these projects will desperately need in order to deliver, and also the delivery of just wider social value to the region, and so we can ensure that the South East derives most benefit from these projects and this significant investment, which I think before all the cost of living or the cost of doing business rises was even totaling more than 30 billion at that point. So moving on to garden communities, this year saw the first in-person Building Garden Communities conference held, a very successful conference that the LEP have supported now for 3 years running. It started with a desire to bring this policy to the forefront and demonstrate the role that the South East is playing in this agenda and to share best practice across the region. It's now expanded into a national conference, which is really well attended by representatives from across all industries involved. And it's a great session for learning, debate and growing our networks in this area. Our Housing and Development Group continues to be at the forefront of national policy on housing and engaged with government and local partners on key matters, including responses to the Levelling Up White Paper and other policies that highlight the impact on housing in the South East. So moving on to data and intelligence, in this year we really made some real strides, I think, in our sort of deep dives into complex issues and using our huge data repository, really, which developed into a new huge data repository, to really understand some key kind of challenges and key areas and trends that affect our region. So firstly, we published in September last year a Levelling Up Index. This focused on assessing access to really good high quality jobs. So it had quite a focused metric, but it highlighted the need to level up across our coastal and Thames estuary communities. It showed that as an economic region, SELEP had over 30% of its local authority areas in need of levelling up, as defined by the government's papers, which is similar to the standard statistical regions of the South West and Yorkshire and the Humber, with just under 10% of local authorities in extreme need of levelling up, which only the North East region, Wales and Scotland identified greater need. The analysis in this report has been shared with partners and working groups such as our coastal communities, as well as to inform national policy discussions, including the APPG for the South East Levelling Up Inquiry. We also, in support of SELEP's and our partners' understanding of the response to the recovery of the COVID-19 pandemic, SELEP published the Town Centre Footfall Report in May last year. This provided detailed analysis of footfall levels across all 32 local authorities within the area, looking at retail and recreation locations using Google Google Community Mobility Reports, compared with pre-pandemic baseline indices. And the report highlighted, as we might expect, significant drops in footfall and varying impacts across our coastal towns and those areas that are really struggling to return to pre-pandemic levels. Moving on to our COVID-19 Recovery Fund programme. At the beginning of the year, we launched 6 programmes to help with economic recovery following the pandemic. 3 of these were around skills development and 3 were to support small businesses. We developed a new procurement framework, which can be used by other organisations in future, which allowed us to bring quickly appropriately experienced suppliers on board to deliver these programmes in a timely way. They ran for 12 months each and supported nearly 1,500 people and over 600 businesses in various ways, providing grants, upskilling individuals, re-employment opportunities, digital inclusion, and supporting those furthest away from the labour market, as well as pre-start and start-ups to enable them to survive through a very difficult period, as well as building resilience within hard-hit existing businesses. In addition, we had place-based campaigns that were also designed and launched across our federated areas to help reboot the visitor economy, as we know, a sector that was hugely impacted by the pandemic and one of the slowest to recover. The campaigns had input from over 100 organisations and businesses, with the overall aim of increasing consumer confidence, footfall and spend during the pandemic and following. Linked to that sort of business support, we obviously continued to deliver our Growth Hub services across the SELEP region and to evolve the Growth Hub delivery model. As you're probably aware, the Growth Hub service is a one-stop shop for businesses looking for support. Unfortunately, this year saw a 50% reduction in the funding that we received from government, so we had to quickly review the delivery model that we had in place. And we did this in a way that made sure there was no break in service for the business users and making sure that the service was consistent across our region. Businesses received signposting, guidance and referrals to the right support schemes for them. And as the cost of living crisis grew, the Growth Hub responded by providing bespoke support, including specialist advisors, an alternative startup programme, one-to-one growth support and wider outreach and engagement activities. So coming to our capital programme, huge area of work, obviously, for the LEP. As said, there are a number of case studies provided for this in the annual report. This purely picks out some highlights. So no use empty Southend. This is the extension of a project which has seen great success across Kent and expanded across our region into Southend-on-Sea. The City Council is aiming to encourage the development and use of empty commercial buildings across the city and the wider South Essex footprint by leading a project to provide zero interest loans to owners and developers. The goal of the no use empty is to turn between 10 to 15 empty buildings back into occupation across the area. North Kent College, we were joined by the Levelling Up Minister at the time, Deanna Davison, who attended the grand opening ceremony at North Kent College, which is a state-of-the-art performing arts and digital creative centre. This represented our highest value project as part of our Getting Building Fund programme and will provide just under 3,000 square metres of educational floor space, including a performance venue, dance studios, music performance spaces, digital design classrooms and multi-use workshops. It is aimed at creating a pipeline of talent to serve our growing and thriving creative and digital sector across the South East. We also started on site at Beaulieu Park Station. We welcomed the development and building of the first railway station on the Great Eastern Main Line in more than 100 years, which started at Beaulieu in Chelmsford in January this year. This station will provide much needed additional rail capacity for Chelmsford and reduce traffic congestion in the area. It will serve the new garden community at Beaulieu, as well as the wider catchment of rural areas across mid-Essex. It's expected that the work will be completed at the station, ready for opening at the end of 2025. And lastly, on this screen at least, we have the Sunspot Commercial Space Project in Jaywick. This provides a new business centre, 6 seafront shop fronts. I had to really say that quite slowly. That's quite a tongue tire if you say it quickly. And presents a covered market and event hall, as well as being just a great asset for the community and directly addressing the levelling up agenda in that area. I actually attended recently the opening of that project, and again the Minister Deanna Davison opened that, and it was really what struck me about it was how well the community were embracing that project, which apparently hadn't always been the case with some investments that had been made in the area. So it seems to be making already a very positive impact. Among other projects, a new 2.5 million bus interchange opened in Gravesend, designed to improve transport connections between rail, bus and bike. The Lee flood storage area expansion scheme was given approval to start, which will build a flood embankment and pumping station in Hillingborough to better protect homes and businesses from flooding in the future. So that's just a snapshot really of many things that we've captured in the annual report. And in delivering all of this, it's the work of partners across the region, you know, who never cease to impress us with their commitment to the growth agenda, to supporting businesses with the potential to grow, and really putting their communities first in all that they do. So our work is built on that partnership, and we see it every day and enjoy doing so. So please do have a look at our annual report for more details on activities that took place across the year. And our website, Wider, is also a great source of information for project updates and news stories across the area. So I'll now hand back to Sarah. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen, and a huge thank you to you and to all of the team at SELEP, you know, for all of the work that that you do to make this happen, and to all of the work that happens at the local authorities. So, as Helen said, the details of all of this can be found in the annual report, which is online. And also, I'd just like to bring to your attention, we have a newsletter, which is a really good source for keeping up to date for our activity throughout the year. So if you haven't signed up for that, please do. And of course, you know, none of this also could happen without great partnership, and it's great partnership working that makes a real difference to our businesses, to our communities. So thank you to all of the board. So now I'm just checking whether there are any questions. There aren't any questions as I can see online at the moment. Just pause just for a moment in case there is. Otherwise, I will draw the meeting to a close. Thank you to all of the board, to the directors of SELEP and to the federated boards for their time, for their dedication, without whom none of this would be possible. And you know, as I said before, we are really proud of all of the work that this partnership has achieved and the plans that we have in play. We will continue to work closely with all of our partners over the coming months to ensure a really smooth and good transition, which aims to maintain our networks and maintain our expertise, to share our learnings that we've had, you know, over the last few years. There have been considerable things that we've achieved. There are considerable learnings that we want to share, so that whatever happens in the future doesn't start from a standing start. So thank you to you all for coming. Oh, I see. Hang on a minute. That's just a great update. Thank you very much for that that feedback. Please do sign up to our newsletter if you haven't done. Join us on Twitter. Sorry, something's happening now with the slides. If you haven't already, or on the website. So thank you very much to you all for being here, and we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you.
Thank you.